I think the focus has always been on the African entrepreneur and not really looking at the other things that, form part of the ecosystem, like you mentioned. For the entrepreneur, I think it's simple, bold, persistent experimentation. You know what the issue is, you try it out. How successful you are is actually based on how much, or how much you believe in your solution, you know. But I think one of the key things that we don't really focus on is the Black African funds. There's a lot of funds, granted, but most of these funds are sort of white or external funding. If you look at the landscape, startup landscape in Africa, most of it is expert driven. So it's African, but I mean, I won't mention any names, but you look at most of the big companies that are funded or startups that are funded, they are expert founded, and it's familiarity. So white funds will fund white founders, Asian funds will fund Asian founders, right? And even though we know that these markets are now saturated, the US and Asia, money needs to flow into Africa. But there's an issue of trust, because if we're not funding our own, particularly at the early stage, late stage, then it'll be very, very difficult to have an external come in and fund an African